Yeah, good.
Why don't we record?
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. And you know what we should do too, I reckon? Let's podcast as well. In case.
Oh, you're recording it. Cool. Okay.
Happy with that?
Yeah, that's okay.
Welcome to...
Good. I'm all prepared.
Always prepared, Ritu. I know that you are just ready to go all the time. So welcome to everyone out there in podcast land. If you're listening to this, I've got a lovely Ritu with me, and she's going to talk about leadership and the humanisation and how to bring the human element and human factors back into leadership, I'm sure, girl, and how to get over the leader's block, which is an interesting one. I saw you put that on LinkedIn yesterday. Talk us through that, Ritu, as a start, please.
Okay. So thanks for having me, on your podcast, and delighted to be speaking to you because, knowing you're somebody who actually is an epitome of humanizing leadership, and that's what you are doing. I mean, we're just taking different angles, but we're both doing, talking about humanizing leadership and how to bring that human element more, right, in day-to-day life. So for me, humanizing leadership really stemmed from the fact that leaders tend to, so two things. One, we as people tend to put leaders on some sort of a pedestal and, think that they'll never do anything wrong. So there's a lot of following, there's lots of, like almost hero worshipping and looking up to them, and therefore taking them away from being human. And then what that does is that almost forces leaders to start to believe that they are invincible and, they are really these superheroes. And therefore, even if they want to make a mistake, or even if they make a mistake, they hide it, they cover up, right? So the idea is really that all of us are humans. That's the base level.
We're not Flash Gordon or Batman. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not at all. I mean, they're lovely to see. They're lovely to see on in the cinemas and on the screen. But we shouldn't take it more seriously than that.
Right. Bummer. I like Flash Gordon. No, the Green Lantern, I think.
With the green, yes.
That's right. So they sort of, and you're right. I think there's probably an element of vulnerability in there. They actually don't want to sort of peel back the armor and peel back the layers because they're sort of a little bit worried about getting their soul and their heart hurt. And that's what leadership's about sometimes too, because it's not all about the good stuff. You can't have great without some negative emotions as well, because you need that sort of context.
Balance, yes, absolutely. And in fact, I think, especially now more than ever, that's changing because, previously, if you think of like even 10 or 15 years back, or when I started my career in the corporate world, there was a lot of knowledge-based thing, right? Like leaders that time, or my seniors or my bosses knew a lot more than I did. So therefore, there is that whole thing of they are more knowledgeable. And there was this constant looking up to them for that knowledge per se. But that's changed now, right? Like you can Google, even my 9-year-old can Google anything and find out, right? So, so the whole advantage that leaders earlier had of having more knowledge, that's gone. So then what is it they have that people should follow them or should kind of look up to them? That's, emotion, empathy, vulnerability, all of that. So they have to rely more on that than probably 15 years back or even 10 years back. So that's the big shift that's happening.
So rely on other skills because, back like you said, and I still see it today, Ritu, that I actually had a guy say to me in a coaching session the other day that he's been with the business for 25 years. He's really good at his job. He's an excellent technician, absolutely knows inside and out what to do. He's educated, so he's got a diploma, whatever it was.
Sure.
So therefore, he should get a leadership role because he's got some technical competence.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, and that sort of, well, it's not actually the technical competence you need to be a strong leader. It's actually the emotional intelligence rather than IQ, right?
Yes, I agree. In fact, there are a lot of people who've been working for 20, 25 years, technically very strong, but then they struggle. I mean, I know a leader that I coach he's been the strategy head for some time and he's excellent at strategy. because for his next level, they wanted him to do a bigger role. They put him as an operating head of a site. He failed. I mean, he was the blue-eyed boy in the company, but he failed. Within 12 months, they did an employee engagement survey, and he failed so badly because he was using the same skills and same way of operating that he was when he was a strategy head. Which meant he just had a team of 8 people, so he worked very closely with. And now he's suddenly responsible for 2,000 people on the site. So therefore, it's a very common element I'm also seeing, in leaders across organizations now.
Good on you, Ritu. So just very, very quickly, so everyone out there can get to know you very quickly, you've got an amazingly successful corporate background before you became an amazingly successful speaker. So what did that corporate background look like very quickly, if you could?
Yeah. Okay. So I started my career as a financial analyst with Procter & Gamble for their shaving business. So for Gillette, very, yes, the best a man can get. And they haven't changed the tagline ever.
Best a man can get.
I started my career there in India. And I worked with them for about 4 years. And then I moved to the US to work for General Electric, GE, and GE Capital, to be specific. I moved to do a particular role, but very quickly I ended up leading a team. So I moved in an area called regulatory reporting, which basically meant preparing financials for the Federal Reserve. And, lots of non-sexy work, so to say. It's accounting at the end of the day.
Right.
But what from there on started was my journey of working and managing diverse teams. I spent next 15 years working in GE in different capacities, different parts of the world. So multiple places in the US, moved to UK, moved to Ireland, moved to Philippines for a little bit, moved back to India, and then moved to Singapore. So it's like done a full circle a little bit. But I think more important than that, what that gave me, if I were to sum it up in 2 things, one, it gave me the ability to work with people across the globe with very diverse and virtual teams. Like I have barely had a job where I've sat or I've been in the same country as my boss, always worked remotely. I have barely had teams who sat in the same country as I did, so that it gave me that. And secondly, as a woman leader, it taught me to work very well with men. I've always, because in a finance and accounting world, there's also majority of men, there are lesser women there. And my last few roles, I've had like 6 male leaders reporting into me, and from six different countries. So from Guatemala, Mexico, Poland, Hungary, UK. So it's, I think for me, if I were to sum up my career, it's just been diverse in all aspects. So
can I delve into that one? Because not many people that do the work we do are willing to unpack this whole gender thing, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So this is pretty cool that you mentioned that. So you learnt to lead men, I think was sort of what you said.
Yeah.
Is leading men and leading women a different skill set? Is in your experience?
It is. I wouldn't say it's different skill set, but there's a nuance. There's a nuance of what appeals to a male versus what appeals to female. And look, that is a genetic difference. We can't always say that they're same.
Bell curve.
Exactly.
Bell curve.
Exactly. Because the thing is also always there will be a difference between a way a female looks at a thing and a male looks at a thing, right? A same piece of art can be perceived differently by a male, female. A same game, how you watch a game can be perceived differently by a male, female, right? So there are lots of things. And similarly for leading them, there are nuances. If as a leader you can pick those nuances, it is having like again, it's one of those new generation or new era skills you need to have to be able to lead both men and women with equal panache.
Beautiful panache, nuances and panache. I love it. Um, yeah, that's interesting, because actually, when you unpack that a little bit further, you're probably right. Actually, if we chunked it up instead of chunking it down, you'd probably say that we lead every individual slightly differently anyway, because we've got to lead based on their needs and their characteristics and their what's another word? Their what's the word when we're all different? Their character traits, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah,
yes,
I suppose,
and that's a beautiful way of putting it, that everybody is different.
Right.
And if you understand that, and I'm just going to add, and therefore what happens even in my coaching practice, and if I look at all my clients, about 80, sometimes even 90%, depending on of the duration, but majority, 80+% of my clients are male.
Right.
Male leaders, which actually people would assume I do more work with women leaders, or I would do more on the gender side. I don't. Majority of my clients are male, and I laugh about it because that's my way of shifting their way of thinking. When they're getting coached by a female leader, they're kind of picking up some of those those little traits, or I'm shifting something inside them.
Can I just share some of my experience very quickly?
Please.
I still say some of the best leaders that I ever had were female leaders, or probably, well, the absolute best leader. If I had to pick the two best leaders I've had, they're both female leaders.
Wow.
And I think, and I don't want to offend anyone out there, especially my male counterparts who are out there watching this.
Yes.
I just find female, obviously, and this is no groundbreaking revelation, I think they're just a little bit more connected and a little bit more emotional, a little bit more caring, because I think males try to care, and it's a real, I believe, so obviously there's going to be some males that are born with this caring ability. I think a lot of males develop it over their career.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more females just bring it naturally to the workplace, like a caring, nurturing, correct, type persona, a way of dealing with people. And I and it's interesting to hear that 80 to 90% of your clients are male.
Yeah.
What that says to me is that probably still out there in the world that there's maybe a higher percentage of male leaders than female leaders. And I think that's the sad part about the world at the moment. Let's give females the opportunity to do that. And there's obviously, there's a lot of people out there like yourself and a lot of female coaches and there's a lot of forums now for women in leadership and that sort of stuff. And I think that's fantastic because they just have got so much to bring to the field. And I love hearing that, that males get some value from your coaching, which is really cool.
Right. No, and you rightly said that, it is also because there are more leaders, male leaders. But also I think because in fact, somebody pointed that out to me, that male leaders look for or kind of select me as their coach is also because it's easier for them to open up to probably to a female. It's very non-threatening, it's not competitive, and they feel safe.
Ritu, can I tell you something? I say that males are good at sharing their emotions.
Yeah.
If they have a good person to listen to, if they have a good listener.
Yes.
People don't agree with me on that. And you're the first person to say that, all of your male coaches, they open up to you because you're a good listener.
Great.
Just imagine if people like me, male coaches, were just as good a listener as you are. Imagine.
I'm sure you are.
Oh, thank you. Just imagine how many males would open up their heart and share their emotions and their experience with other males.
Right.
I reckon males, if we were better listeners, we would encourage other males to share their emotions and their, sorry about this, I've got my computer keeps clicking at me. Imagine how how much suicide we'd bring down. Imagine how much we'd change the world if males
That's right.
became better listeners. That's just my
That's
thought
right.
on it. And that goes into the leadership space, because there's people in your team as a male leader that need to be
That's right.
listened to, need to be heard.
Correct. And they don't have too many people to talk to. That's the other thing. Yeah.
And as a leader, if we can listen, we give them that extra set of ears, that extra access to heart, right?
That's right. That's right.
Cool. So that's the humanizing aspect, and that's the skill set that we're sort of developing, more contemporary skills rather than just more technical.
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
What do you think blocks that? So what's the leader's block to actually becoming a human leader rather than a superhero leader?
Yeah. I think the way I've defined, leader's block is a temporary phase that every leader goes through. And an easy way to remember it is compare it to writer's block. Just as writers go through a phase when they can't produce best of their work, or they just feel stuck. It's the same thing for leaders. In the long leadership journey, they go through a phase when they're not able to perform on top of their game, and it's temporary, and everybody goes through it, because it's humanly not possible to be performing at the same level all the time, right? So what blocks it is a combination. It's a combination of external and internal factors. External factors are, the economy, the environment, your company going through restructuring, your company going through a lot of change. You could become redundant, whatever. So all those external factors are there. And then there are internal factors, which are things like, resistance to change. There's so much change happening, but you don't want to change. You don't want to get that new skill, or you don't want to develop that new muscle, and you're stuck. It could be, sometimes it could also be personal, where you are restricted by a certain thing, like some personal choices. You can't relocate, or you don't want to take a traveling job, or whatever. It could be different things for different people. It could be things like, your own personality. Like some people want excitement every 2 years. They need a newer thing, like greener pastures, right? So continuous thing, or comparing themselves to their peers all the time, saying, I need to be faster, better, higher, things like that, which can lead you, but can also block you. Because what if you don't?
And then there's tragedy in your life outside of work too.
Absolutely.
Imagine how that affects how you show up every day.
Exactly. And that's the personal part. You've got illness, you've got something happening, you've got some tragedy in the family, there's lots of those things. And then, for that period of time, you're not on top of your game. You're not showing up your best. You're not putting in your best. So there's multiple reasons for a leader to get
Ritu. Beautiful girl. So knowing that it's temporary, and we have a saying here, pain is temporary, and this too shall pass. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
So really, it's probably about and it's probably about being self-aware enough to know that you're not at your best, to reach out. There's people like you and I around to help people through those temporary challenges, roadblocks.
Correct.
Whether they're external or whether they're internal.
Absolutely.
And know that, leaders, I think the other part of the superhero thing, and on the hero's journey, there's this whole element of we've got to do it on my own.
I know, yeah.
And I think at times, and you and I are a bit the same in business, and we're speakers and we're doing our own thing, and we've got to take our own advice sometimes and reach out. And
absolutely.
Support network. And I think that's what we could encourage leaders to do as well.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things, and one of the strategies to overcome leaders' block, which I talk about in the book, is having a network of trusted advisors, or having a board of trusted advisors, right? It could be like your mentors, your coaches, your colleagues, your friends, family, whoever, and everybody plays a role. A mentor plays a different role, coach plays a different role, your family plays a different role. So yes, to have that network.
Beautiful.
Of support.
And I go back to that longest running Harvard study on happiness, how to live forever, have good relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ritu, that is just fantastic. We've covered a fair bit in a very short period of time. So advice. What is for the people out there that are listening to, and you and I can both share this, and this will be on.
Yes.
Is it okay if I put this on YouTube, like in the next 5 or 10 minutes? Just get it out there, and I'll send you a link.
Sure. Yeah. No worries.
Perfection. Progress over perfection here, Rita.
Absolutely. I'm not a perfectionist at all. You'll always find flaws, and which ties in very well with my theme. I'm human, right? Like, I'm not supposed to be perfect. It's okay.
I love it. We've got beeping and we've got chairs squeaking, and the audio is probably not great, and we'll get it out there anyway.
Right.
What advice would you have for, say, first-time leaders who, when you step into your leader role, you have this whole dichotomy of emotion, right? Or this juxtaposition of emotion, excitement. I'm going to change the world and I'm going to lead this team to greatness. And at the other end of the scale is the whole, holy shit, this is a big gig I've just pulled on. Am I able to do this? What advice have you got for the new leaders and even older leaders when they take on this new challenge every 2 years? And what's the biggest 2 or 3 things for them?
Yeah, I think the single most important thing is don't try and do it all by yourself.
Right.
So that's really important, because once you reconcile with that you can't do it all, you will then automatically reach out to people, to your teams, to everybody else. So don't try and figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is that you and your team are not separate. You're not two entities, right? You're one. And the day you start treating yourself and your team as one entity, a lot of your decision making, a lot of your thought process, a lot of your anxiety or stress is going to get taken away, because then you're sharing it with them. It's not yours alone. It's collective.
It's we. It's a bit more inclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's those inclusive words and statements. Right. How can we solve this problem?
Absolutely.
What's our approach?
That's correct. Instead of what's my approach or what am I doing?
Mm-hmm. And I very specifically, Ritu, when I put posts out, when I write content, my emails, I address emails to team. Even if my team's the universe, Facebook post team, I did this today or whatever.
Lovely.
And it's just inclusive. I just want to be part of something bigger than myself, and as all leaders do, and as all team members do too.
Yes, absolutely.
And number 3 could be have a vision, have a direction.
Yeah, set the direction, right? So single most thing, I think what leaders get lost sometimes when they come into big roles is, I want to do this, I want to do that. They have all these great ideas in their head, but are they able to articulate that vision for their team? So articulating that vision, not only having a vision, but articulating it to the team, so that then they get the team aligned to that vision.
Beautiful. And the team will own it then, like the leader does, and buy in.
Exactly.
Ritu, you have been amazing. Thank you so very much for your help, and it's been great to connect. Great to learn about your work. Oh, very, very quickly, your speaking work. Have you got any gigs coming up? So just very, very quickly, you've spoken around the globe. You're like just a world famous speaker now.
Not yet. Where am I speaking? Yes. So 2 weeks, week of 14th October, I'm in the Maldives. I'm doing a gig there. In fact, I'm doing 2 gigs in Maldives. And then the week after that, I go to India for doing a women leadership program with Amazon, which is very exciting. Fantastic. So those are two for the month.
Good on you. Looking forward to hearing about those. So do you post about those on LinkedIn, for example? Where can people follow you?
So they can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, but LinkedIn is the best. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I reply, respond, I post regularly. So LinkedIn is the best place.
Now, I might even put a link on LinkedIn to this video once it's on YouTube, and I'll tag you in it. So in case you want to share this with your tribe as well. We'll
do that. This is so lovely talking to you. And I want to ask you, what were your 3 advices for the first time leaders or the leaders?
What a great question. I think my advice would be to them is be optimistic.
Mm.
And that's weird and it's simplistic.
Like that.
And it's think positive, and I get all that. And I get the weeds are going to grow in the garden. You got to pick them up. And the law of attraction, it's not that. It's about action. I get all that. I just think that as first-time leaders, we can get a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think we have a thing in our business, Ritu, called the big positive. What's the big positive in this? What's the optimistic view, and what's the silver lining? You know, there's always a positive to this. And the more that you can look forward with a positive perspective, and, you know, it's a real part of resilience is this whole having a forward look, because it helps you with anxiety and it helps you with everything else. It just having a positive outlook on life and being optimistic about your future and even about your current situation, even when those internal and external things are going on.
Right. Right.
And remember, it's about that circle of influence and the circle of control and all that sort of stuff. There's some stuff like the economy that is really, really difficult to do anything about. So let's not stress about it.
Right. Right.
So the first one would be optimistic. The second one would be, and these are really specific skills, choose your languaging very carefully.
Interesting.
So you talked about articulating. Because people hang on every word, like it's very, very easy to be taken as a leader, to be taken out of context, or, did you mean Friday at 3?
Wow.
No, that was Thursday at 3. I needed that, like specifics and clear, right down to, we do a lot of work around effective communication.
Lovely.
And, the power of the word but, to help people know that you're lying to them, or just or only. It's just a 5-minute job, or, it's only. Yeah. And by not using your languaging really well, I think you're probably not caring enough about that other individual to make it important, make it a priority to you to really be specific in how you communicate.
Right. Wow.
And the third one, Ritu, I think would be learn the skills of public speaking.
Wow.
Learn how to influence a group or a team. Because as a leader, a lot of your work is one-on-one, and never miss a meeting with your team members in those one-on-ones. Absolutely. The skill, though, to be able to influence a team and to bring people into the fold and share your vision with more than one person is just an absolute skill set of leaders. And they forget that, I think, Ritu. And that's next level communication, is to be able to not just communicate well with one person, communicate with more than one person.
Right.
So,
I'm almost summing it up like yours is going to the basics, really, which leaders, as they progress, forget. It's really going back to the basics, if you think of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, change your mindset, choose your words carefully, and learn to influence groups. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for asking too, by the way.
No, I want to hear what is your your advice, or what direction are you thinking, or what do you hear from your leaders and tell your leaders?
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for sharing.
No, thanks for asking. And we just came off a 2-day resilience training workshop. Wow. We went from resilience through to recognition, through to taking responsibility, and then respect. And those 4 R's about what that looks like in leadership, and how demonstrating those through your actions is so important to being vulnerable and being human, and demonstrating those softer skills, and demonstrating that you care, really, because care factor is really important. So.
Correct.
So there you go. There you go, Ritu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're going to stop the recording, but
I'll do that right now. So thanks everyone out there in podcast land. It's been fantastic to have you on, and we're going to sign off with Ritu very, very soon. And we will catch you all on our next podcast. Thanks, Ritu. I think I've got to end the meeting to stop the recording just quietly. So we'll thank you so much again for having us. And it's been really, really cool. You are an absolute champion, and it was great talking. You were really...
Same here.
You're really inspirational. You really,
look who's talking. Like, your story is the one that's so inspirational. When I went through your LinkedIn, and I quickly read about your background. I was like, wow, I really need to speak with him.
Oh, right.
And and that's how when we connected, I was like, yeah, we need to talk. And I know we are out of time today, but we'll definitely keep the conversation going, because
please.
There are so many things that I want to ask you, and I wanted to think. So yeah.
We're so aligned. Yeah, we'll do it in a month's time, and we'll do it round 2.
Perfect. We'll do that.
Thanks,
Great.
Ritu.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye, girl.
Bye.